Good afternoon, everybody. I'm busy, and it's fantastic to be home. Thank you to the president of the organization. Thank you to the sponsors for getting me to leave that horrible place called Johannesburg to come and spend a couple of days with the most fantastic people in the world. Architects, you are the most fantastic.
Thank you.
So, I'll start with, I'm 53 years old, and you tell stories to get by. So, there was a friend of my dad, the late great Vernon Wamuka, and he would come by the house and he would talk to my father. And at age, I can't remember how old I was, 11 or 12, I gave him a cluster house development concept along Borrowdale Road, where NMB currently stands right now. And Mkoma Vernon tried by all means to get me to become an architect. And I said, Mkoma, I can't draw to save my life. It later resulted that in maths, I can't do maths to save my life either. So I end up as a simple real estate agent. And I'm coming to you as Muna, I don't believe Salan, right? My job is to say, this is what we've got, this is the product, this is where we're going to go. But along the way, I have learned that speaking to people, talking to people one-on-one, hearing their minds, gives us a better insight. So I need some psychological safety that we're amongst friends here, that we're in the real estate value chain, and no one's going to take anything personally. Do I have that?
Yes.
Hallelujah? Amen. Okay. So, if you read management textbooks, there's a great guy, Simon Sinek, and he always says, start with why. So, Mr. Dreadlock Rastaman, can you hit us? Start with why. It's a quiet Friday morning, and you're waking up, and you've chosen not to be at the office, not to take Zimra's call chasing me for QPDs that are still outstanding. Why have you come here? What are you bringing? Why have you joined all of your colleagues in the room? And I say it's because of the philosophy of architecture. Architecture has to be something that lives beyond us. I'm immensely fascinated by the pyramids that have such design and purpose and fulfill their purpose, and for millennia they still stand. So I put architecture in the context of why do we do these things? So I can wake up and I can make a loaf of bread, or I can fix something, but what impact am I having to not just my kids, but if a Martian landed from outer space right now, and you said, please give me the statistics of a Zimbabwean, I'll tell you, Dananai, okay, maybe this is a bit glamorized, Dananai, but Dananai is likely to be a single female under the age of 18, living in a rural area, making less than the average wage. If you want the numbers, 41% of our population is under 18, 67% live in the rural areas, only 15% cross the educational gap to go into higher education after high school. So that's who we're dealing, that's who we are as Zimbabweans. But greatness is within us. Where we can go is within us. And with those of you, the learned and the exposed and the travel, we can take ourselves further. Real estate isn't just a bunch of bricks in Zimbabwe. It is us. We fought a war over it. We have all sorts of terms around it. Real estate is our pocket, our msimboti, our strength, our aspiration. Nananai wants an apartment. Dreadlock. So let's look backwards quickly. How do we get to where we are right now? And my timeline is 2025 to 2035. Mawana uti mnanjenga about 2030. We're not talking 2030. So households have been battered. And the saving grace has been your and my parents who used to work, that put some money in the cabs, pups. They would get a mortgage from cabs. They bought a house in Budiriro or in Hatfield and what have you. With the financial crises that Zimbabwe has been through, two things have stood out: equities and real estate. And the dollarization of that real estate has meant that we have significant buying power. I work on the African continent. I've had the pleasure of visiting 15 of the great countries on this continent. And by far, the most upside, the most greatest ability to further develop our assets, to me, sits in my humble Zimbabwe. Because we have people who have paid up houses worth $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 of real capital. We can go very Hernando de Soto and talk about its dead capital because we don't have mortgages to release it, but we have capital available. So households hold on to an asset. That gives us headroom to take it further. Pension funds, by necessity, have held on to assets. And if you look at the latest IPEC report, you'll see that 46% of your, mine, and everybody's pension sits in fixed assets. That gives us an addressable, ready, good to go place to start. We're not talking Nigeria, let's create Lekki Island and do something. We're saying Ziripo. And we have a great deed system where land is surveyed, it is titled, it has zoned, and they're positioned there. There are processes that we can do to access further land. Our distorted economics, where is it a dollar, can I borrow, can I get a mortgage, has removed people, or the financial providers have removed a lot of risk, and the bank is typically not the place you're going to go and borrow money for to do your development. The banks in and of themselves, to protect their own balance sheet, have become developers. If you look at the last set of results, and they vary because we're in the banking reporting season, there's one bank, I think about 80% of its income came from revaluation of properties. So it's not actually a bank, it's a property company with a banking license. But banks are our clients, our friends, but it's just a few of us here in the room, right? And only 10,000 people on Twitter. They are competitors too. So banks are in the game to unlock value, protect value, and cash flow. We sit in an environment, and we had the deputy minister talking about the rules. Our government, our council, and our economic necessity is up we go. If you want to get state land, 40% of it has to be set aside for high-rise apartments, 3 stories and above. So we're being pushed to do more with less, more efficiently. Our social tastes are changing. I remember, and I had the great privilege of working with my folks or watching my folks going through the process. As you can tell by my accent, I only started speaking Shona when I was 6 years old. So I speak with a bit of an accent here and there. But I remember the debate between mom and dad, and subsequently you go through life. Mom wanted 2,000 acres in Mount Pleasant because she had come from London, and that's what she thought. But my dad, Mwanawevu, of course, he wanted a yacht, and he wanted chisters, and he wanted a swimming pool. So his house, and then rest his soul, his 10,000 square meter plot in Mandara had all of that. But now we're younger, more dynamic. We want to lock up and go. We want to move. So our social styles have changed. The clusterification, that word that was being discussed earlier, we have different norms, we have different expectations, and we're more used to communal living in smaller spaces. Then real estate is that exciting thing. It is that breakthrough, that surge of energy, and that reason that we try and wake up in the morning and hustle is apanamun. Anoti and take us stand. There's nobody who has that, I'm going to rent forever and just waft around the world. So this thing matters. So if we've got this thing that matters, and it matters to us, let us make a plan together here in this room to put it in Dananai's hands. So real estate is a long gestation product. So it's not an AI creation that we can click a button and it happens tomorrow. We have to plan it, we have to finance it, we have to program it. So when we're doing that, and as architects, I needn't tell you, and I looked at the fantastic models that have been done by the students by NAST, and if I had a daughter, I just have 2 sons, advert. I have 2 sons, but if I had a daughter, I would have told her, if Kanashila was an architect, because those guys are diligent, patient, and will work at it, and they'll be decent human beings, because if they can put together a financial, If they can put together the kind of models that are there, the late nights, the cut hands, the single-minded focus, I think it's a great attribute, and I commend you guys for putting that together. But let's talk about the real estate that we want to do. Remember, we're building for the future. You and I are here, we're walking, we're breathing. Some of us are closer to pension than some of you in the room, but let's design with the future in mind. So what are we looking at? In the rooms I sit in, I've done investor raises for real estate investments trusts coming to the market. I've done board strategy sessions for some of the largest money managers in the country. And for my sins, I looked after your money at NASA. But that's a story for another day. In retail, what are people looking for? They are looking for convenience, accessibility, and something more than a physical product. If you go down, and I know my nieces over the weekend are going to say, Abba, make it to the ice cream. Ice cream is not just straight out of that machine. We've got to go to H-Town Gelato, and I have my film and my camera, and we'll be doing the selfies and all the rest of it. So the retail is an experience. It's not the procurement of a good. It's not going to fill a shopping basket and off you go. You want to sit and relax and spend some time and network and socialize. So our retail environment, we're moving there, and you can see the Highland malls, you can see the Chisibite shopping center coming up. Modern, fresh, clean lines, interactive services, goods, but a strong communal element around it. In our offices, we are not unique. Offices are decentralizing. The 20-story building in downtown Harare, access issues, water issues, lift and power issues, people want to divorce themselves from that, so they're moving out to areas where they can control. What can they control? If they get a 200 square meter house on an acre, they can put in water, power, and there's no city parking coming and clamping their visitors when they're there. So we're moving to decentralize, to areas that we can control. A great example is the Cell Insurance Company along the Greendale or Coronation, but somewhere out there by Rhodesville. In our industrial moves to service demand. And the demand is, as Zimbabwe, we're moving to higher aspirations. We import a lot of stuff. So people are moving to distribution, and that distribution requires modern industrial space. Not the Rhodesian sawtooth 2-meter eaves height. We're going to volumetric space. Volumetric space is, instead of measuring space by in 2 dimensions, length by breadth, we've gone to volume. People can stack things up to 5. In the tobacco industry, we've done barns as high as 10 meters up. So the cost of real estate, when you can put it in a volume, if we're stacking non-fussy tobacco, we can put it as high as 10 meters. So we've gone to volumetric space. That space needs to be in a place. I don't know how many of you have tried to go and get anything in Granite Side of late. Compare the Granite Side experience with the experience of popping into picking up a fridge or getting something serviced in the Pomona node. Masamba Asiana, I believe is the expression. In residential, here we're talking about gash housing. Gash housing, when I was a student in South Africa, it was the big thing. Gash housing is good address, small home. So we have the want and need and the desire to move. If you look at the number 2 searched term on propertybook.co.zw is cluster in Borrowdale. Thousands of inquiries per month. So if I'm a fisherman, I learn to fish where the fish are. What are you fishing? I'll come around the site and you'll believe this. But people are looking for the affordability of housing. Now, the affordability of housing is a monster, and it's not just Africa's problem. You can talk about it in the States. You can use exactly the same words about the accessibility to housing for a first-time home buyer. In South Africa, where I reside, the first-time home buyer, her average age, because majority, 37% are women, her average age for the first time she buys property is 40 years old. So don't feel alienated or excluded because of these time pressures that we have. 15 minutes, 5 to go. Affordability is going to be the thing that we break the camel's back with. So can we get there by ourselves? I don't think we can get there by ourselves, but we have the ability to leverage resources that are already here. We heard the challenge around water today, but if we make better use of it, and I'm being a proponent for densification with all of the challenges that have been described, but we've got to be able to extract more value from what is here for it is a higher capital impact, or it has a lower capital impact than stretching the cities further and further out and then putting in new plumbing and putting a new plant. Let's get the water to flow. Next slide. So, I represent money. I look for money, I need the money, and I like money. But when I take off the t-shirt and I put on the shirt and tie, and I'm speaking to a pension fund that is responsibly looking to hold and protect people's value, there are three things that they want to talk to me about. The three things they want to talk to me about is yield. What's my return? If I put this money in, where do I get? When and where do I get my returns? On Twitter and on LinkedIn, I did an article showing who's giving you the quickest returns over a period on the stock market currently. You can follow it that. The second class is our responsible investors have mandates. They can't just invest. My DMs on Twitter are always, Kora, can you find a pension fund to lend me money to build a cluster? A, you're unlisted. B, it's development risk. And C, we don't have a proven case study for us to be able to invest in that. So there's a matrix. So when you've got that matrix, and that's the recipe, and that's the work that we need to do, we'll come to you as architects. You are the wonderful, creative drawers of the vision and the future. I will do the hard work and do the spreadsheet for the feasibility. I might end up torturing the numbers and then putting very good English on top of that, but we will get there together. The investor has an expectation and a template. And then thirdly, green, ESG. If you're talking about raising capital in the public markets, being on the stock exchange, the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange has taken a very clear view that they want to see you reporting on green issues. It's not about hugging trees, it's not about being good to the environment. To me, it makes perfect rands and cents. If I can get zesta from my roof, if I can do rainwater harvesting, if I can use low impact materials that I can source locally, I'm reducing my capital cost, I'm reducing my operating costs, and in property, that's the magic thing. The triangle is revenue up, cost down, and value on the third rises as those two separate. Next one. So, it's Friday, and I'm going to go pastor on you. I'm going to go motivational speaker on you now. We had the speaker from Singapore, and Singapore was a dream, it was a concept. So as Zimbabweans, who are we? What do we want? Where are we going? I respect, love, and marvel at the technological competence that is the new Parliament building. Did we build it? Did we design it? Or do we have other people giving their interpretation of what colloquial Zimbabwean means? I love our neighbor next door, Botswana. That fancy building there is called the World Trade Center. There are 2 million Botswana, 2 million. But they've built the World Trade Center. As people, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? So, you've done your thing, you've networked. On Monday, what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to do? I want you to just forget everything else that I've said, just the three things. Let's reimagine. If we've reimagined, let's think, where do we want to take ourselves? What do we want to be? How good do we want to be? Then, our first step, baby step, we can design and build all sorts of new stuff, but can we recycle what we've got currently? And then, thirdly, when capital is available, when we are this middle income society, when the 20-30 dollar is extended on and the Zim dollar is now at 7-1 versus 35-1, it's fantastic. Let's redevelop. Those are the three things I'd like you to do. But let's get there. I'm talking to the creatives who sleep with pens in their hands and notebooks on their side. So let me give you a couple of pictures to go along with that. Reimagine. I'm told, never look like your problems. Everybody's got a problem, right? I was sent a picture of town on Monday at the bottom. I don't identify with those Rhodesian buildings. My African aspiration is to the sky. It is to a prosperous country where as the most intelligent people on the continent, as the most educated, we are reaching to the skies to our potential. So I see a Zimbabwe that has buildings that reach to the sky. We've got to build the future that we want our kids to live in. These buildings are going to outlive all of us. So I want to leave my sons, Kwaeza and Simuzai, something Chinoshami said, I want to leave a mark. I don't want to have a plaque on a Blair toilet. I want to do fantastic things. Next one. How do we recycle? There's the great stuff. There's big stuff to be done. But we can do the simple things. What's in our control? We can do facades if we've got an existing building. We can do repurposing. What is there? Is this use still appropriate? Can we exchange it? Can we change it? Can we do residential conversions in the CBD from offices to residential? Can we do that? Where can we put in a shopping center that has a big vacancy? Can we put in a call center? Can we employ 10,000 youths in a program that exports our talent and our very good English to the rest of the world? Can we do that? Then if we want to have the capital, can we do a redevelopment like that bottom one? This is in Bryanston, not far from where I stay. The first 2 floors are an existing office complex. Offices as a node have got massive vacancies or voids as we call them in Zimbabwe, 25%. The decision has been to redevelop. Let's recreate. So, next one. On that recreation, it is our minds that are going to lead us to where we want to be. And that recreation is, I'm not saying ignore your past. I'm not saying destroy everything. The first picture is of the Rosebank fire station. The fire station remains on the ground floor and operates, but somebody had the audacity to put up a multi-story office on top of that. The next one is a bank building. It used to be offices. They've redeveloped it into a residential development called the bank. And then the third is our students, our beautiful young minds and talents. Let's house them in places that exercise our creativity, that excite them. I see that we've already done 3,000 units in student accommodation in Zimbabwe. Let's take that further. Let's make it greater, brighter, and more exciting. In conclusion, that's a cube building in Gaborone, in Botswana. Let's say there is no box. Let's not restrict ourselves that there's a box. Let's think beyond the box. We are only ever going to be under more pressure to do more for more people with less resources. Our population is growing, our appetites are growing, we get Netflix, YouTube, whatever is coming at us, the world is coming at us. Our kids want and demand of us. When things were turning, what were you doing? What have you left us? What have you done for us? Land resources are getting scarcer, so I think we're going to have to make higher density use of what we've got, with all of the provisions that we started the conversation this morning on. Efficiency and aesthetics matter. I'm being accommodated across the way here. Lovely hotel, lovely gardens, but do we need all of those public areas? As an investor, I'm doing the maths. I've built every square meter. Am I generating rental off every square meter? But we've got large public areas that we're not circulating. So efficiency is going to matter. Exposure. Get on a bus, plane, chicken bus, go and see the world and bring that excitement home and show us. We've seen the youth at NUST doing development plans, but show us, bring your character. We want to see a building designed by a Chiera and say, wow, look at that. And then we can go there and do study tours and say, look at this cultural expression of this set of bricks to meet a purpose. So you guys are the ones with the pens in your hand. And Theodore Roosevelt has the expression, or he gave a speech, the man in the ring. And to summarize it is one line. It is the doer of the deeds who actually counts. So, Chichemo Changu Kwamuri is designed with excitement. I know my clients are going to tell you budget, and you're going to design cantilevers and colors and facades and all sorts of things. They're going to say, I didn't budget here. Now, fight with them and say, but we are leaving a legacy and a landmark, and we're going to take it further. I want to see the Zimbabwe we live in and the Zimbabwe we contribute and pay Zimra a lot of money for as a construction site. Live, breathe, deliver, fantastic. Zimbabwe Ndedu. Thank you very much.